welcome to another episode of Crypto Chats. If you don't follow me on Instagram, just so you know, I am currently in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Came down here to do some ghost hunting because we know this area is poppin' for that kind of stuff. So I thought it would be fun while we're down here to talk about a cryptid that's local relatively to this area. So we're gonna go over that. I also I know that some of you guys are pretty interested in my ghost investigation stuff. I'm going to link my blog down in the bottom, and we've been rolling for some of our investigations, so I'll link that as well. I am also live streaming an investigation tonight. So if you would like to see that, please follow me on Instagram. The link is right in my YouTube bio, and I'll put the ad down here as well. So if you don't want to go to the bio, you can just search it from here. So I'm going to be live streaming that around 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to be doing an investigation at Sachs Bridge in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. So back to our cryptids at hand. We're going to talk about a cryptid today that is relatively recent, actually. Its first sighting was in 1993, which is like, in terms of like cryptozoology, like pretty recent. The last reported sighting of it was 2013. So yeah, it was 7 years ago, but that's still pretty recent. And I think it's interesting. So we're talking about the Butler Gargoyle today. The Butler Gargoyle is super cool. Its first sighting was in Allentown, Pennsylvania, which is about 2.5 hours from where we are. We actually drove through Allentown to get to Gettysburg. And I have asked that we stop on the way back because I want to see if they're as into their cryptid as I am. So yeah, let's get into that. Okay, so the very first sighting of this creature was in 1993, as I said. It was in June in Allentown, Pennsylvania, at a place called Baker's Point, which to my understanding is just like a popular destination for people to go and chill. I didn't visit it on our way down, so I don't know that for sure, but that's what I've gathered from the internet. And so we have a man named John and his girlfriend, and then their son and their son's fiance. And they were all driving to Baker's Point, and while they were driving, they saw a creature on the side of the road, and they stopped. And they described this creature as being about 6 feet tall. And it had, so picture Mothman. I'm sure we all know what Mothman looks like. If you don't, Google it, because it's, I don't know, it's pretty iconic, so there's that. But, so it was very similar in stature to Mothman, and so 6 feet tall, except the difference was that it had brown, like leathery skin almost, whereas Mothman, as we all know, is like more fluffy. So brown leathery skin, and it had arms. That's a huge difference between Mothman and this creature here. So the regional like relevance to Mothman, like, you know, West Virginia is not that far away from where we are here, so it's not totally impossible to think that this creature that was like had its home in West Virginia could also be here too, but you know, this guy has arms, Mothman does not. So the Butler Gargoyle, he's got arms, he's got legs, he's got big giant wings, which is interesting to me because there are a lot of reports around here of giant birds with very long wingspans, and if you're familiar at all with thunderbirds, that's a topic I will cover at some point. You know that they are massive creatures with these huge long wingspans, and people see these giant winged creatures in the sky and kind of don't really know what to make of them. So according to these eyewitnesses, John and company, this creature walked right up next to their car and was completely unfazed by it. Like, this Butler Gargoyle did not care, not even a little bit, that this car was there. And that's interesting because a lot of, like, I've seen in eyewitness statements of various cryptids, not just ones that look like Mothman or ones that, you know, seem mean. Generally, there's a timidness, and it's the same with wild animals too. There's a timidness around things they don't understand. I think we as people have that as well. But this is interesting because this creature did not have any care in the world for this vehicle, and kind of just acted like it didn't exist. And that's cool too because there were people inside the car And so he just like did not care about these people inside the car either. He was just minding his own business. He's just going on his way. And so they watched it walk by the car and then go off into where the tree line starts and fly away. So that's sick. Like that's so cool. That's like such a solid eyewitness, you know, happening. Because that's just like, you know, you get to see the whole creature in detail. Like they even got to like give a detailed description of how muscular this creature's legs were because it was so close to them and in such close proximity to where they were sitting in their car. And that's just super neat to me. I love eyewitness accounts like that. So the majority of the sightings happened in 2011. So we had one in 1993 and then 5 in 2011, which is a lot. That's a lot of people to be seeing this creature. And the description that the eyewitnesses in 2011 gave matched to a T the description that was given in 1993. Except these people got a little bit more of a detailed look at its face. And the way the face is shaped to me like screams alien. Like I know you guys, you've watched up to this point, you know that I've like just love aliens and want to think that everything's an alien, everything's a ghost, everything's a cryptid, and sometimes they're both. But the face of this creature, like, and the eyewitness recreation of the creature, which is right here. Look at this guy. He's very weird looking. Looks very alien too. Like that head is like very stereotypical, like alienness. So it like very, very, very flat face with pointed eyes, which is, you know, reptilian almost. Like the way that they described it as being is very like that of a snake, or a lizard people maybe. And the eyes laid flat against the head, which I mean most creatures' eyes lay relatively flat with the exception of some fish. Like our eyes obviously are not super flat in our skull, but they're flat to some extent, you know, we don't have protruding eyes. But that's really neat to me because I don't, you know, it's just an odd detail that like very flat set into its face. And that's very strange. And it had very, very, very long claws, which is something that the first eyewitness did not describe. And, you know, maybe they just didn't happen to look. Maybe they were put off by its muscular legs. Or maybe that's, you know, what they ended up focusing on. But very, very long claws, which is another aspect to me that's interesting, that it paid no mind to these people and these cars because it, you know, with long claws and muscular legs, it could have very easily messed your day up. And it chose not to. So, and also, so if you watched my Nightcrawler video, I also talked about the Carmel area creature, and there is this weird cryptid that they had that had bent backward looking legs. So like if you took your leg and flipped it around and that's how you walked on it and just the joint was backwards. And these people described the creature that they saw as having bent backwards legs. So very similar to the description that they gave, that the people in Ohio gave for this Carmel area creature. It was like the same like bent backwards kind of legs, which is interesting to me because that's not really that, I mean, I don't know, I'm not a nature expert, but I don't think that's really that common in nature, right? Like if I'm wrong, let me know, but I don't think that that's a like super common thing that animals just have backwards legs. So it's interesting, it's very cool, and I am like thrilled that they got, like, you know, it's like every sighting has more detail of this creature, and that's just wicked cool to me. So as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people compare this creature to Mothman. And when you look at a side-by-side picture of Mothman and the Butler Gargoyle, you can see why they're very similar, and the settings of which people have seen both of these creatures are very similar as well. Like Mothman likes his dark nights and his creepy, weird, secluded places. The Butler Gargoyle also likes his dark nights and creepy, weird, secluded places. And to me, I think that's a fine comparison as long as you acknowledge the differences between them. And so, as I said before, like Mothman doesn't have arms. He only has wings. He has no arms. He just walks around with no arms, just wings. And the Butler Gargoyle has arms. And good for him. He can pick up more things. Maybe he can help Mothman out if he needs to pick up a can of soup for his family or something. And the other exception is that the Butler Gargoyle has had 0 reports of any sort of like weird glowing lights from its eyes or weird, light aura around it. Whereas Mothman, like every single sighting of Mothman ever has had some sort of glowing aspect to him, right? Like his eyes either glow or, he's got this like glow about him, flying around, causing havoc, whatever. So it's important to acknowledge the differences, but I do still think they are very similar creatures. This is one of those situations where I don't think it's possible that they're like related to each other at all, which I know a lot of the times I definitely can see the family resemblance and like can kind of make that connection. This is one I don't think, because I have a hard time believing that this family would evolve enough over like 20, 30 years that suddenly this guy has no arms and this guy has arms. But I don't know, I'm not an expert, so. Okay, so the people who are local to where these sightings happen are very, like, they have their theories about what this creature is and where it came from. And, they're all pretty convinced that this is one singular creature, right? It's not a family. There's not like a whole community of Butler Gargoyles running around. It's just one. It's just one little lone gargoyle man, and he's just walking around and having the time of his life. But the theory of where he came from is pretty interesting to me. So in 1938, there was a meteorite that landed in Butler County. It exploded over Butler County. And this is a long time ago. This is, what now? 80 years ago? And so a lot of people kind of developed this theory that this Butler gargoyle creature hitched a ride on this meteorite. And when it exploded over Butler County, this creature went into hiding around here, and then eventually learned to adapt to its surroundings, and then started to come out of hiding in the 90s. That's a very interesting theory to me. It also ties back to my thing about wanting to think everything's an alien. But I personally don't think that's super realistic, just because and also, I guess I can't say it's not super realistic, because we all know that there are plenty of people who don't report their sightings, and plenty of instances where people see these creatures and don't tell anybody because they either don't want to, or they think people are going to think they're crazy, or whatever. We know that there's a lot of that. And in doing my research on the Butler Gargoyle, I did find that there were people who were very reluctant to actually tell their tale, but when talking to townsfolk when talking to people who live here, let's try that, in a more relaxed setting that's not like, tell me what you saw, they're more willing to be like, yes, oh yeah, we see that thing all the time, or like, yeah, that guy was hanging on my fence the other day, or whatever, so like, to my understanding, it's a pretty normalized thing to see around here. So there's not a lot of like actual like people like, yep, saw this thing, here's all the information. It's just they're kind of like, oh yeah, I saw that again, whatever, no big deal. But I don't know. I think there's too much time in between when this meteorite exploded and when the first sighting was for it to be like a realistic theory, Does that make sense? Because like obviously like that could be the case. Maybe it was a baby. Maybe it was a baby on the meteorite, and maybe it had to grow up before it came out to haunt, and maybe it's 50 and when it decides to finally come out, or maybe time doesn't move that way with cryptids. I don't know, because maybe they're all interdimensional beings and time doesn't exist to them. I don't know. Who knows? But I think it's interesting, but I don't think it's possible. Sue me. I don't know. If you think it's plausible, you let me know. I want to know your reasons why. And that sounded really, really shady, but I mean it in like an actual, like, I would love to hear why you would think that is a plausible explanation. Yeah, so super cool. I'll touch on the 2013 sighting real quick. It's a very short one. Somebody saw this creature mid-flight near Butler, Pennsylvania. I don't know if that's actually a place or if it's Butler County, because I'm not an expert on Pennsylvania. But this person saw the creature mid-flight, and so, you know, you can't tell for sure if it was actually the same creature or if it was like a thunderbird, like I mentioned earlier. Or Pennsylvania has its own other cryptid called the Nui, I believe that's how you say it, and it's like a vulture-like cryptid, and I'll touch on that eventually as well. But there are a lot of possibilities that this could have been the Butler Gargoyle, or it could have been one of the other various cryptids, or it could have been a big bird, I don't know. But the wingspan was 8 to 10 feet, so that's a big bird. And what's interesting to me is that this happened in 2013, and this person, who still remains anonymous to this day, did not tell anybody about it until 2014 because they were worried. To my understanding, at least, they were worried about being labeled as crazy. And there is a website called phantomsandmonsters.com. It's very cool. You guys should check it out because it is one of those, I touched upon a website like this when I was talking about Dogman, but it is one of those websites that allows you to anonymously tell your story. So if you have seen something, if you've witnessed a weird creature or like had a weird experience and you want to talk to somebody about it without fear of being judged, you can actually go and submit your encounter right on the website, totally anonymously, and read other people's experiences with similar creatures. And this person from 2013 that didn't mention it until 2014 actually hit up somebody who works on phantomsandmonsters.com, and that's how they told their story. So, super interesting. I like the Butler Gargoyle. I like gargoyles as a concept, and I, as a child, really like to think that they came alive at night and just like did whatever they wanted. So, there being a creature that's gargoyle-esque and flying around in the sky in Pennsylvania makes me very happy. It also makes my inner child very happy. My 9-year-old self is jumping for joy at the fact that gargoyles really do be out here flying around and doing what they want. But that's all I have for you on the Butler Gargoyle today. Like I said earlier, I'm going to just touch upon it again just in case anyone's forgotten. If you're interested in anything paranormal, ghost investigations, human or non-human ghosts, spirits, anything like that, I am currently in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and I'm doing a live investigation on my Instagram tonight for you all to watch if you feel like that's something you'd like to do. So go ahead and give me a follow. My handle is right here, and it's also going to be down in my bio. So yeah, come check it out. And then my paranormal blog is down here as well if you want to read it. If you don't want to watch it and you'd rather read it, that's also acceptable. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this Crypto Chats video. I will have another one for you guys next week. And since I will not have a new video on Saturday, happy Halloween, everybody. I hope all of your spooky wishes come true. Maybe you'll run into a cryptid of your own. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks so much. Bye.